Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning and welcome to the committee meeting for Rehab and Social Services. Will the clerk please open the roll for attendance?
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Okay, members, just one housekeeping item. Last meeting, we heard Senate Bill 117. That was my bill. It had to do with changing the number of children in a day home situation where a license would be required. It was changing it from 5 to 3. With your consent, I asked that we send a letter to the Department of Social Services to examine the situation. There is a similar bill going through the House. DSS would like some time to look at it. So I withdrew the bill, so I'm asking to send a letter.
So moved.
Madam Chair,
Senator Sproul.
thank you. I would at least like to know why you want to go from 5 to 3, at least that.
Well, the issue in that bill was there were many areas of the state apparently where there were no licensed home day care situations. So they wanted to, advocates and children's groups wanted to improve the number, and I would like the department to evaluate that.
Thank you so much.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And second, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay, we have a subcommittee report, and I will turn to the chair of that subcommittee, Senator Mason, if you want to walk us through the bills that your committee considered.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Madam Chair. So we'll start this morning with Senate Bill 496. The Senator Edwards had 3 bills and had quite a good morning with us. This one was designed to allow, an agritourism area to sell alcoholic beverages on premises. This is akin to an all-inclusive resort that you would go to that has, all food, drink, everything included. This is the lodge at Moss Neck, I believe, in Virginia. And so we don't have in our new structure something designed for this. So this bill was designed to help accommodate the lodge at Moss Neck. The committee heard the bill and recommended approval on a 5-0 vote, and so I would so move.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Somebody have a minute. There we go.
11 ayes, 0 nays.
Second bill, Madam Chair, is Senate Bill
Thank
490. Second bill is Senate Bill 497. This allowed a private, nonprofit or profit club to sell spirits in mini bottles, essentially. These private clubs, you can currently bring your drink, your liquor, your wine to the premises and save it there. This is a senior facility that wanted to be able to dispense it in mini bottles. We heard it, discussed it. It seemed a limited implementation. And so the committee moved that we reported 5-0, and I so moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? It's been seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
$11 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill passes. 11 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, Senate Bill 498. This is Massanutten. Currently, they have individual restaurant licenses, and they were just trying to have a license that incorporated the entire region. I believe this too will not necessarily fit into our new ABC structure, so we've written it as we have many one-off things to describe Massanutten only the best we could. We've got quite a few of these in the code, which may be a job for us in the future to figure out how to clean those up, but we were fine with doing this for Massanutten, and so the committee recommended approval 5-0, and I so move.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
12 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Bill passes.
Madam Chairman, I turn your attention to Senate Bill 414. This was Senator Deed's bill. We have quite a few bills on distilleries and their incredible growth. This is a farm distillery that produces all things either on their farm or on farms in conjunction with the process. They've reached the cap that we provided for them as far as production. This is quite a good success story, so we removed that cap and took them to the next level while allowing them to remain a farm distillery. The committee recommended reporting this bill also 5-0, and I so move.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
12 ayes, 0 nays.
5-0 nays. We have one more bill. Senator Mason.
3 more, Madam Chair.
Oh, excuse me.
Senator Vogel had 689. This town of Warrenton, we had allowed them special event licenses up to 12 times a year. They seem to be having a big time in Warrenton, so we moved that up to 16 times a year and also tried to incorporate what could be a weekend festival. So we limited it for 16 times a year up from 12 and any 72-hour period. So having just come from the Tourism Caucus, Senator Vogel did a nice job there. The committee recommended 5-0. We approve, and I so move. Excuse me, Madam Chair, as amended. I apologize.
Okay. Motion has been made to move as amended, and it was seconded. Adopt the amendment in the committee.
I beg your pardon, ma'am.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I move we adopt amendment to Senate Bill 689.
Okay, all those in favor of adopting the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody in opposition? Amendment's adopted unanimously. The bill is before us as amended.
I move to report.
Okay, motion has been made to adopt the bill as amended and seconded. Will the clerk open the roll?
Johnny.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill passes, 12 ayes, 0 nays.
So, Madam Chair, then Senator Vogel has Senate Bill 688. She's still zealously representing the town of Warrenton. Their distiller there wanted to set up tasting rooms, 4 additional tasting rooms. Unfortunately, Madam Chairman, as you know, our distilleries are set up as ABC stores. So this would have added 4 additional ABC stores just in that area and given the prospect of having 46 distilleries times 4, whatever that math works out to, ma'am, seems to be a lot. And in the restructuring of ABC and adding FTE, we didn't want to put that burden on them at this time. So the committee moved to respectfully pass that bill by indefinitely, unanimously, and I so move.
Okay, I believe that's still a roll call vote. Is that correct? Will the clerk please open the roll?
12 ayes, 0 nays.
Then, Madam Chairman, our last bill of the committee is no stranger to this committee. It's Senate Bill 196, Senator Cosgrove. So he brought a bill this year talking about reducing the applicable food and beverage requirement down to $10,000. For those of you who sat through a lot of the hard work we did, not this summer, but the summer before, we've talked about MBAR over and over and tried to determine what a proper number would be. Senator Cosgrove asked to amend his bill to make that $10,000 $30,000. The committee did not approve that motion as, again, we've been in the middle of ABC restructuring and haven't been able to reach agreement on MBAR or any change thereof. That might be the next bridge that we cross, Madam Chairman, but Senator Cosgrove moved to report the bill. It failed 2-3, but if, with your indulgence, ma'am, I'd ask for him to take a couple of minutes and walk through his position.
Senator Cosgrove, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, ma'am. This fine bill that's before you this morning basically would make it a lot easier on restaurants and their reporting requirements to ABC. Currently, they have to fill out what's called an MBARS. It's a fairly cumbersome report that shows how much alcohol, how much food was sold at the establishment, so that they can make sure that they're meeting the ratios. The idea has been for the last several years to try to up just an amount so that basically all of this accounting and waste of time and effort wouldn't have to be done by a large number of restaurants. I was told by the association that a third of the association opposed it, a third of the association liked it, and a third were agnostic. So, Madam Chairman, I did make a motion to increase the amount to $30,000 a month, which is a substantial margin. But that did not go through. I would really like to see this bill passed. You know, I've talked to many restaurant owners that basically have to hire a full-time person just to do this type of work. And, you know, if they could just show their receipts, just like they have to in any taxing purpose, that it should serve the same function. So, that being said, Madam Chairman, I'll leave it to the disposition of the committee. And if we are going to be looking at this and building a bridge, I hope this will be the lumber yard for that bridge.
We will keep this in mind. It may be something that ends up going to the committee once again. So thank you for your work. I know it's a challenge.
So
The motion is before us.
Madam Chairman, with the sight set on the future discussions here, I'd move to respectfully pass by Senate Bill 196.
Madam Chair?
Okay, Senator Sproul and then Senator Boysko.
Could we have someone here from the food, beverage, whatever, who was in opposition and they asked him out a question?
Is Travis here by any chance? Travis Hill? Okay. Mr. Daniels, I think we want an expert. Isn't that correct, Senator Sproul?
Yes,
This is
ma'am.
somebody from the administration. Welcome, Mr.
I'll try to
Daniels.
find you one. Good morning, Madam Chair. John Daniel, Virginia ABC.
Mr. Daniels?
Yes, sir, Senator Sproul.
Some college will offer at the meeting from 10,000 to 30,000.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out from an opposition that what will work. I know we want to do this summer, so we say 10,000, he says, and we, of course, I definitely object to that 30,000. So I'm trying to find someone who's in opposition who will give me a number that would work.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would, or ABC would be in the opposition category. This is an issue that's been discussed by pros and cons for many, many years. I think we're happy to implement whatever number you may come up with. I think during the subcommittee, Senator Reeves's former subcommittee, correct me if I'm wrong, the deliberations were somewhere in the 450,000 or more, but there was even a lot of consternation among the various parties about that kind of a number. So I really can't give you a number that would be the magic number.
Madam Chair, well, he
Senator
got the
Sproul.
one I want to talk to. I want to talk to someone from the food.
Right.
From the
Yeah.
food. I'm just trying to find out that he was
Mr.
trying to make off from 10 to 30,000. I'm just trying to find out from someone from the food.
We will ask for one more speaker on this,
Yes,
but this
ma'am.
has been a very complicated issue. The committee has been looking at this for well
But that's
over a
not
year.
complicated for someone from the food to tell me
Is
from
there-
30,000 to a number.
Madam Chairman, there are two lobbyists here who
Oh.
lobbied against the bill. I'm sure that they can come up and tell us.
Okay, I would like one of them to come up, or if you would like the second, if you would like the second one, that would be fine.
Oh, I found an
Just a
expert.
question.
Mr. Loria,
Just the question that what would be a number that would be satisfaction to the food folks?
Madam Chair, Senator Sproul, honestly, we don't think there's a problem. I mean, 99% of restaurants are making the ratio. So I think picking a number frankly, out of thin air, I don't think that's appropriate simply because so many restaurants are making it now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
okay, thank you. The motion to PBI is before us, and I believe it was seconded. Would the clerk please open the roll?
Seven ayes, 5 nays.
Senator Mason.
My apologies, Madam Chairman. I don't know if it's 8 o'clock in the morning or you just got a rookie subcommittee chair, but I've failed us on two of Senator Edwards' bills. So having voted on the prevailing side of Senate Bill 496 and 498, I'd like to reconsider the vote by which I was taken.
Okay, we do one at a time. Well,
do
I
both.
believe that has to be a roll call vote on the
We can
reconsideration.
reconsider both, then the individual.
So we can reconsider both, but it is a roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay, colleagues, we're reconsidering Senate Bill 496 and Senate Bill 498. A motion was made, and I believe there was a second. Will the clerk please open the roll?
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, both those now are before us.
Once again, Madam Chairman, my apologies for slowing down the train, but I move that we adopt Senate Bill 496 as amended by the committee.
Second.
Okay, the motion is before us to adopt Senate Bill 496 as amended, and there is a second. Will the clerk please open the roll?
We adopt the amendments to 496. I beg your pardon.
Because all those in favor of adopting the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, but now we have to adopt the bill as amended.
Well, we can do, and
Well,
so,
I'd rather do it one by one. Isn't that correct? I have to adopt the bill as amended?
Madam Chair, can we get somebody to explain what the amendments, the substitutes do?
Okay, I'm going to do it one case. So we've adopted the amendment to 496. I would like the clerk to open the roll on that so we can revote.
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, so now we're moved to Senate Bill 498.
yes, ma'am.
We had reconsidered it. It is before us.
Madam Chairman, I move that we adopt the committee amendments.
Okay, motion, second, is there a second? All those in favor of adopting the amendment signify by saying aye.
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 Now,
Okay,
Madam
amendments
Chairman,
are
I move
adopted.
that I move passage of Senate Bill 498 as amended.
Is there a second? Okay, the bill is before us as amended. Will the clerk please open the roll for voting?
Twelve ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you very much.
My apologies. Thank you, Madam
No,
Chair.
No problem. We thank the subcommittee for its hard work. You obviously walked us through many complicated bills. I have one other housekeeping item in case there are speakers here. Senator Locke has requested, and I hope we can grant unanimous consent, that Senate Bill 1033 go by for the day.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, that goes by. All right, so now I'm going to go to those who are here and ready to present. Senator Suderline.
Yes, Madam Chair. I've got Senate Bill 215. It's a short read, but an important bill. I direct the committee to lines 43 through 47, which is the bill. And what it provides is that we'd have annual reports summarizing the reviews that are conducted by the Board of Jail Deaths that occur across the Commonwealth. And in that report, summarize their findings and present recommendations on what might be causing statistically more than would be expected in some places than others by looking at it in the aggregate. And they would send us the report to the governor, to the speaker, and to Senator Lucas in her role as president pro tem. And also, more importantly, it would also be public. This is something that we have throughout the Commonwealth. There are places that are statistically much higher, and every time that statistic is higher, it represents actual humans, actual Virginians and families that are affected. And so the hope is that by shining more light, we can learn more and prevent it from happening and reduce its likelihood.
Okay, are there any speakers? Have you brought any speakers? Okay. Looks like somebody is coming up.
I just wanted to speak in support.
Okay, this is your time.
Yeah, Bruce Cruiser with Mental Health America, Virginia. We've been monitoring the Board of Corrections meetings regarding jail deaths, and I have asked them to publicize, even to put the minutes of the meetings on their website, and to date, that has not happened. So we fully support this because it is a right move for transparency, because the public does need to be aware of what's going on with the jail death investigations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, do you have any questions of the patron?
Madam Chair.
Okay, Senator
Madam
Reeves.
Chair, Senator Suderline, would you be agreeable to an amendment that would allow the report to be given to the appropriate, not that there's anything wrong with the President of the Senate, but this committee handles all Department of Corrections for the state in its breast. And we've asked before that some reports, when I was chair, that I would actually get them. So would you have any heartburn if we added the chair of social service and rehab, and I'm not sure what the equivalent is, maybe council knows, in the House that would also receive the report? We could do a line. HWI,
Do you view
yes,
that
ma'am.
as a friendly amendment?
Yes, I think that would be,
Okay, so we will ask staff to read back the amendment, and then I will ask for a second, confirm that you moved it and ask for a second. Mr. May.
Madam Chair, the amendment would be on line 47. After delegates, comma, insert the chairman of the Senate Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services and House Committee on Public Safety, comma.
Okay, the amendment has been made by Senator Reeves. Is there a second?
we're keeping the President Pro Tem
Yes,
still
we
on,
are.
correct?
Yes, we are.
Very good.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Bill is before us as amended. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. Madam Chairman, I'm supportive of this bill, and let me tell you why I'm really supportive of it. This will also encompass regional jails, where a big part of the problem lies. And a big part of the problem lies in our regional jails because the local compact that supports these regional jails picks and chooses which prisoners to send to the regional jail and which to keep in their regular jail. The ones they send to the regional jail are the ones that have the most serious mental health issues, the most serious physical health issues, the most serious behavioral issues. And I hope that will be part of what is being reported in this report. I mean, it's critical to see basically the population and the differences between the regular jail that the sheriffs are keeping and the regional jail that's basically, and I don't mean this in a really negative manner, but sometimes a dumping ground. So,
Very good. Okay, a motion is before us. It's already been moved and seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
I appreciate the second motion now.
Thank you, Senator Sutherland.
Thank you very
12
much.
ayes, 1 nay.
Okay, Senator Peake.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Senator.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Senator Morsi.
Madam Chair, I have a companion bill. May I present mine at the same time after Senator Peake that covers the same issue?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, first on Senate Bill 1023.
Thank you.
And I think this is, and I have two, and I think this is the one Senator Morsi and I are looking at the same thing. But I would like to amend mine, if I may, to eliminate local. I just want to address state correctional facilities. So at line 13, at the end of the line, I'd like to mark out or local. At line 15, I would, after state, like to mark out or local. And then at line 37, I would like to mark out sheriff and warden. So it would just read the superintendent. So I actually, my problem has not been with the local jails or regional jails, it's the state correctional facility. Senator Morsi, is that?
Okay, the patron has offered amendments. May I have a motion to accept the amendments in a second?
Madam Chair,
Motion has been made and seconded. Senator Sproul.
I'm looking at Senator Peake. I didn't know whether Senator Moore's bill is
Does that affect
the
yours?
same thing?
Okay. Does not affect Senator Morsi's.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so amendment is before us. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the bill as amended is before us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do have a companion bill about canines, and that also I want to apply just to state correctional facilities, and I'll make that amendment at the time.
We'll do that when that bill's
And I'm
before
going
us.
to give you a background of this story that will apply to both bills, and Senator Morsi's well aware of it. And so first, let me state, this matter first came to me in May of 2019. A lawyer in my area, Lynchburg area, wife went to visit an inmate at the Buckingham Correctional Institute, which is in my district. She was alerted, a canine alerted to her, and she was told she needed to undergo a strip search, or she would never be able to visit that inmate or anyone at a state correctional unit again. My friend wrote a letter to Governor Northam, Secretary Brian Moran, and the head of the corrections, spelling this problem out. He was more concerned that the dog hadn't acted properly or maybe handled properly and the whole procedure, but he had a problem with it. They wrote a letter back and did not, and mainly addressed Department of Corrections, the acting chief of corrections operations, and mainly talked about the problem with drugs and contraband in the prisons, and then acknowledged that the lady who's 72 years old with a completely spotless background was given the choice to leave the facility and not return or to submit to a strip search. And what she was told, and what was said in that letter, was that she was told, never to return if she didn't submit to that strip search. And so I looked at that, and we got some information, started researching it at that point. That was in May. Then all of a sudden in December, the Virginian pilot, Mr. Gary Harkey, has done an incredible series of articles, a great series of articles, and I think that's what got Senator Morrissey's attention, and apparently Delegate Lee Carter has a bill in the House that I wasn't aware of, and I wasn't aware of Senator Morrissey's. But then we got this article, and it said it was an 8-year-old from Portsmouth was subjected to a strip search. She came in, and this was at Buckingham. The dog alerted to her. The prison officials, and she was not with her mother or a legal guardian, happened to be the inmate's girlfriend. The dog alerted. They told her, an 8-year-old girl, that if you do not submit yourself to this strip search, you will be forever banned from visiting your father. She underwent the strip search, and they found no contraband, and then they wouldn't allow a contact visit. So I have several parts of my bill. First of all, if you're going to give them a strip search and they come up clean, why in the world would you then not allow them a contact visit? First part, you should never, ever be able to tell anyone that if you don't submit to a strip search, you will never be able to visit your loved one, friend, whatever again. Those are two of my big problems. Then there was another article. It's happened to an 83-year-old man, 18-year-old people, 15-year-old people, so strip searches of minors should be banned. And then if you don't, the policy, they say it's not a written policy, but my lady had never talked to any of these. She's been anonymous the whole time. You see this whole string of people, one of them was in Chatham, a lot of them in Buckingham, where they are told no strip search, no visits ever. And that should be done away with, and strip searches of minors. The governor suspended the policy after that article about the 8-year-old, but it needs to be in the code. And also, it needs to be in the code that they cannot say, if you do not submit, you don't ever get to visit again. Senator
We
Morrissey.
understand your bill. Do you both have the same speakers? Or, because I'm happy to go through your bill, Senator Peake, and then do Senator Morrissey's, unless they're very similar.
Madam Chair, I don't have any speakers here. I'm going to try to emphasize a couple of points, try not to duplicate what Senator Peake said.
What bill is yours?
And then if it's practical and prudent, then we can roll one bill into the other. The genesis of my bill indeed was the story by,
Senate Bill 1089, is that where we are?
1089, yes. The genesis of my bill was an article that appeared in the Richmond Times-Dispatch that also picked up on the Virginia pilot series of stories. And let me just add a couple of points to this. My bill bans, in the code, the strip searching of a minor, period, paragraph, full stop. It also bans the practice of telling a loved person that if you don't submit to a strip search, and I'm talking about an adult, then you will be permanently banned from seeing your loved one ever again in any facility. Now, when the 8-year-old was strip searched at Buckingham, and I'm not, you would almost think I would be making this up, but the 8-year-old was strip searched. That led to the Department of Corrections saying the following, quote, "There is some confusion concerning its application." Thereafter, and to the credit of Secretary Moran, he said, quote, "I am deeply concerned that this is happening. I have directed the Department of Corrections to make it clear to all facilities and staff that this practice is unacceptable. It is our obligation to codify this. I am glad that the Department of Corrections now realizes it's a problem. We need to codify it." This happened to 4 women, a 83-year-old man, and the young girl. I don't want to be indelicate regarding the search of the 4 women, but what it amounted to is the dogs, who they said never err, those were their words, alerted to the women who were on their menstrual cycle. They were strip searched, but before being strip searched, they were given a document, and that document said, either you consent to a strip search right now, or you will forever be banned from visiting your loved one here or anywhere else. Imagine somebody who's been visiting their brother, sister, mother, father, boyfriend, girlfriend for 15 years and said, you will never see him again.
Okay.
They had no choice. They signed it. And then to add insult to injury, and as Senator Peake said, they then had non-contact visits.
Right.
I mean, it's bizarre. You almost have to think that you're making it up. I could go into the stories of the victims, but and the specifics if you need me to.
Thank you to both the patrons. The bills are slightly different. I would be inclined to have each bill go forward separately, but I will ask the advice of council.
And we do have a speaker.
Yes, let me just ask the
Okay.
advice of
Yes.
council so we know which bill would be before us. Yeah, that's what they do. We're going to treat the bills separately in separate tracks. We will hear speakers. Senator Peake, did you bring a speaker?
I didn't bring her, but she came here to
She
speak on
came.
my bill. So,
Welcome to the Rehab and Social Services Committee.
Thank you very much. My name is Nicole Tortorello. I'm the Women's Rights Advocacy Council at the ACLU of Virginia, and I wanted to echo the concerns that both senators have raised. We have received many intakes about the problematic use of canine alerts and strip searches to deny visitation to loved ones. And so the ACLU of Virginia supports bills that are going to tackle these problems and ensure that no one is denied a visitation with their loved one for refusing an invasive search. We do have a slight preference for Senator Peake's bill because it does ban searches for minors and is a bit more comprehensive, but we support both bills as a first step to tackling this problem.
I suggest the patrons become chief co-patrons on each other's bill. Thank you so much. Any other speakers? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition to either Senator Peake's bill or Senator Morrissey's bill?
Madam Chairman.
Okay, it's before Senator Sproul and then Senator McDougal. Oh, I apologize. It's Senator Sproul and Senator McDougal and Senator Locke. My apologies, Senator Locke. I did not have you, didn't have my list tapped.
To either of the patrons, were we talking about the same place, the same correction center?
well, excuse me. Since I got to speak first, you get to talk to them all the time. This is my one trip in front of you. Buckingham was a number of them, but one of them was also Chatham. It was a 15-year-old boy. So this is not just women. It's an 83-year-old man. There's a 15-year-old son in Chatham. So it is a statewide problem where they are using that coercive language.
Thank you.
Senator Sproul.
Senator Morrison. In your case, they all at the same place?
Yeah, Buckingham had the 8-year-old girl. There was an 83-year-old man at Buckingham, and the 4 women were at 2 different Department of Corrections facilities. The 15-year-old boy that Senator Peake referred to refused to be strip searched because he was with his grandmother.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, and I was just advised, Senator Sproul, has happened at Augusta and Greene as well.
Thank you. Senator McDougal and then Senator Locke. And then Senator Cosgrove.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to hear from the Department of Corrections' position on this, because I think what we've heard is extremely disturbing, and I really commend Senator Peake and Senator Morrissey for bringing this forward. My only question is on under no circumstances, if there was, what kind of search could occur, because I know that most children are not going to do anything that would be illegal or improper, but not all family members are quite as I would say above board as that always. So what is the procedure if a metal detector hit, or if something were to occur, what type of search could be done that would ensure safety of the facility as well? And I'd like to hear DOC's position on that.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members.
Morning.
My name is Jeremiah Fitz with the Department of Corrections, Corrections Operations Administrator. Aside from the strip search, we also use pat-down search. We have body scanner search, as well as we have the canine search as well. And so those are alternative methods for searches to respond to your question. And I don't know if the question is also being asked in terms of, are we still doing searches of minors through strip search? We have stopped that practice. That is no longer our policy for minors.
So these bills have different angles, but they'd codify that.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chairman.
Senator McDougal?
I guess in our mind, we all know what a quote-unquote strip search is, but there's no concern that by that, any of the other searches which are less invasive would be prohibited from moving forward with how this language is. Y'all feel comfortable with that?
Well, we've stopped the practice of strip searches for minors, and so that would no longer be an issue for us, sir.
Senator Locke.
I have a question for the representative from the Department of Corrections. Are there pat-down searches of minors?
We would use a pat-down search of a minor, depending on the location of where the individual is. If we have a body scanner, then most likely no, ma'am, that would not happen because we allow them to go through the body scanner. But if we did not have one, because we do not have body scanners at all of our facilities.
Thank you. That's all the question I have for him, but I have something else too. For the young lady from the ACLU.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you all been tracking data on how often this occurs?
So unfortunately, the data from the Virginia Department of Corrections that we have seen through the news reports that the senator referred to from the Virginia pilot, the data is kind of all over the place and it's not very clear. We would encourage, generally speaking, much better data collection on this because we don't truly know how often these searches are happening, how often they're being refused, how many people are being denied visitation for refusing these searches. There's just not comprehensive data at the moment that we have had access to. And my understanding is that the reporter from the Virginia pilot has also had a difficult time wrapping his head around the type of data that's available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Senators Peake and Morrissey for this information because I did see the story on the 8-year-old that was reported. So thank you for bringing the legislation.
Madam.
Again, in the queue, Senator Cosgrove, Senator McPike, and then Senator Reeves. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was going to bring up the article in Virginia Pilot that the DOC had already changed its policy on strip searches. But we all know that things can change from administration to administration. The other thing I'd like to express is, you kind of been pinging on the dogs, okay? Those dogs are trained to ferret out minute amounts of illegal substance, okay? So maybe the dog erred, maybe it didn't, but regardless, what happened was not acceptable. So, Madam Chairman, I think that both of these gentlemen have brought forth the bill that needs to be passed and put into the code so we can't revert back at a different time.
And Madam Chair, I would just add that Senator McClellan advised, she's been advised of these problems as well, and Sussex has had the same situation. And if I may, Madam Chair, just from the Virginian pilot, Gary Harkey's done a great job on this. More than 650 prison visitors have been asked to submit to a strip search since 2017. And this is part of my next bill. This is going to the dog, Senator Cosgrove, if I may, Madam Chair.
Senator Peak.
Thank you. Out of 157 searches in 12 months, it was like from November of 19 or 18 to December of 19, 157 strip searches, 10 found contraband. That's what leads to my next
Yes.
bill.
No, we do get the point. Thank you for being so thorough. I have a few more senators who still have questions. So Senator Morrissey, did you have something you wanted to add?
Just this, I always thought that the dogs, when they were alerted, were so precise in their detection of drugs that there was just a minuscule potential for error. But in these 4 women that came forth, Carrie Anderson was one of them, and she came to the facility and she had to do a full body search, including a cavity search. And she was, all 4 women, they were all on their period at the time. When she was told that she had to have a search, she said, I don't use drugs, I've never used drugs, and I certainly wouldn't carry drugs in here. And she said to the guard, quote, your dog alerted an error. And the corrections officer said, my dog doesn't make errors. You have drugs on you. And the dog alerted to her private parts, and they did a full body search and cavity search, and there were no drugs. But that's egregious in itself, but imagine then being told, she could have left the facility, but they said, if you do that, you will never be able to come back again. And the last vignette is Jenny Richter came from Germany, traveled across the country, from overseas to the United States, and had a visit. She actually had the visit the first day, and everything went fine, went smoothly. The second day, the dog alerted, and she said, I'm not carrying drugs. I was here yesterday. Strip search. I, again, don't want to be indelicate, but squat and cough and a cavity search. And again, she was on her menstrual cycle. So the dogs do err, and they did.
We thank you for your presentation. Each senator has presented the problem, I think, very clearly. Now I think the senators are grappling with whatever language is before us and making sure that the bills actually do what we want them to do. The last 3 senators to speak, Senator McPike, Senator Reeves, and then Senator McDougal. Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For Senator Peake's bill, so lines 30 through 33, I'm trying to understand the sequence. Say you do have a 16-year-old kid that comes in, they go through the metal detector, it beeps, they've got metal or something on their belt buckle or somewhere on their clothing. At that point, as I read it, they do not have an opportunity to have physical contact after that point. And I'm just trying to work through the logistics, because it doesn't say there's a process of voluntary consent. And I can see a situation where the kid wants to see their mother or father, but because of a metal detector going off, they're now precluded as written from seeing their parent. And so I just have a concern from a sequence as written. Would there be, Madam Chair, a voluntary or other means to address it that wouldn't preclude the kid from seeing the parent? I'm trying to read through and resolve.
I will ask the patron and then ask David May.
Madam Chair, Senator McPike, I think if it was a belt buckle, then that's not contraband. So I think if the scan shows some contraband, like cell phones, whatever, then they say you can't have a contact visit, you can have a non-contact visit if they don't undergo a search. So, but I think if it's a belt buckle or your shoes or something like that, that's not contraband and wouldn't be.
Is voluntary consent implied?
I don't, my bill does not do away with consent. I don't see, yes, if they want to consent and do whatever.
Madam Chair, follow-up.
Senator McPike?
The language as it says in line 30, no search of the person shall be made on a person under the age of 18. And so that, to me, if you were to go before to adjudicate this, there is no room as written to procedurally work around this. And so I just have a little concern. I'm fully in favor of the concept, but wondering if there's a way.
Let's
Because it does, as Madam Chair, as a follow-up, it does say as a wand or other trigger. And so if you walk through or you wand and there's an indication, the officer has no idea what that contraband is. And so it's almost an automatic exclusion, and that child cannot have contact with the parent or loved one.
I will ask David May. Mr. May, do you have a response to this?
Madam Chair, I guess it comes down to a couple issues. The relevant text is going to be in subdivision 7 here on lines 30 to 33. I think it is correct, Senator McPike's remarks. I do not believe, even with consent under this language, that the search would be allowed if the person is under 18 because of the language on line 30. It specifically says no search of a person shall be made on a person under the age of 18. It doesn't have any language of absent consent. The other issue about detecting metal, for instance, on a person, line 30 goes on to say, if a detector canine search, scanning, or wanding of a minor indicates the presence of contraband, and they're otherwise eligible to visit, they're going to be allowed to go in and have a non-contact visit. It's my understanding that I don't know of anything that a wanding picks up other than metal. So if you have something concealed underneath your clothing, my interpretation of this language would be if the wand hits, indicates the presence of something, they will still, if they are otherwise eligible, but for that wand hitting on something, be allowed to go in and have a non-contact visit anyway.
Okay. All right. No?
None.
So that's the bill. Okay. Senator Reeves and then Senator McDougal.
I just had a question for the gentleman from the Department of Corrections, if I could. In a quick statement, I'm probably the only person on the dais who's actually worked undercover in an ADC buying crack for commissary privileges. So I'm going to tell you, they get it in. And I don't know how they always get it in, but they get it in. My comment would be, have you all changed your SOPs and your general rules? And what does that say with regard to where you are now with regard to exceptions for those various items that the two senators are trying to address? Standard operating procedures. And so I preface the question with you because every one of us who flies on an airplane goes through TSA and somebody's carried something they shouldn't have, and then they get wanded down and go through a machine. So how have your procedures changed?
So, Madam Chair, Senator, our visitation policy is actually under review. One of the steps that our director took immediately after the December article was to stop the strip search of any minors. I will say, and I want to point out this, and just to make it clear to the committee, a strip search is not a cavity search. And so a strip search is completely different. A cavity search is something that's performed by a medical professional. So just to make sure that there's a clear distinction between the two. But to get back to your question, Senator, certainly we realize, as you said, that there is a drug issue. We've had folks pass away from overdoses incarcerated, and we know that drugs come in different forms and from different ways. But one of the biggest things that we realize is that the strip search and what has happened with minors, we understand that that's something that we had to address fairly quickly. So to answer your question, the rest of our visitation policy is still under review.
Okay, thank you. Well, the wordsmither on our committee is asked to speak, so I'm looking forward to his comments. Senator McDougal.
Madam Chairman, that concerns me about my reputation, but I want to just go through, and because I flipped the highlighted, and on item number 3, said if equipment is available, visitors should be scanned, wanded both by metal detector. Madam Chairman, my concern is the word metal detector, because I think somebody mentioned TSA. That is not a metal detector, that's a scan. Not all those things are metal detectors. So can we say scanned or wanded and strike metal detector? Would that cause anybody?
Would that be acceptable to the patron?
So we're not limiting
Okay.
technology?
All right.
So I'd make that motion.
Yes, motion has been made. Is there a second? Second. Okay, will the clerk please read exactly what the amendment how it would read on line 21? If equipment is available, visitors shall be scanned. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. May. If equipment is available, visitors shall be scanned or wanded,
Or both.
or both.
Period.
Period. All right. Any questions about the amendment? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay.
So, Madam Chairman.
Bill's before us as amended. Senator
One
McDougal,
other
one more.
On that number 7, so it says no search of a person shall be made on a person under the age of 18, and I think I stumbled into the answer to my question I previously tried to make. Senator Morrissey's bill talked about strip searches. That I do not think would include a cavity search. So, Madam Chairman, I have some concerns that first line, the way it's worded, would prevent even a pat-down search, something that's not as invasive. So could we, for this one, and if we're doing Senator Morrissey separately, say no strip or cavity search of the person shall be made on a person under the age of 18? That's what we're trying to make sure
Avoid. That's
doesn't
right.
occur. We're not trying to stop just a regular search.
Is that?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is before us. Is there a second? Okay. Again, no search, no cavity search. Is that?
Madam Chairman, I would say no strip or cavity search of the person shall be made on a person under the age of 18.
Okay, I think we all understand. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Second amendment has been adopted unanimously. The bill is before us as amended. Is there a motion to adopt? Thank you. Is there a second? Okay. They're slightly different, so we're going to let them go on their own. Will the clerk open the roll, please?
Fifteen ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, bill passes unanimously. Okay, now we're on Mr. Morrissey's bill. So,
Move the report.
okay.
Madam Chair.
This is Senate Bill 1089.
Madam Chair, my bill is rather narrow. I direct your attention to line 27, and I would certainly consider it not only a friendly amendment, but consistent with what you've already done to change that from 14 to 18 and include language that Senator McDougal suggested that prohibits or prescribes either a cavity or a search or a strip search.
So that would be.
So moved. Okay, so is there a second to that, to those amendments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, the bill is before us as amended. I'd like a motion.
Move the report.
Second?
Second.
Okay, will the clerk please open the roll? Thank you.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Bill reports.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Peake, you're still with us.
I am, and it's the same issue, and this is Senate Bill 1024. And we go to the last page, and at line 255, I would like to strike "and local." At line 257, after state, I would like to strike "or local law enforcement."
So you're basically taking out the local
And
components.
yes, and that's at line 259 and at line 261.
Okay, so those amendments are before us. They're very understandable and simple. Thank you. May I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, bill's before us as amended.
Madam Chairman.
Senator, who called me? Senator McDougal.
Madam Chairman, is this now only with those changes applying to Department of Corrections and not state police or other law enforcement agencies?
That is my intention.
What, Madam Chairman,
Senator McDougal.
maybe Mr. May can, any other references, is this written only into that DOC title or could it apply to any of the others?
Madam Chair, Senator McDougal, I believe since it's in 9.1, we could go broad enough to cover it. I will say I think some of the amendment language was suggested to delete the language of law enforcement also. I think we need to just strike the local piece. So it would read, for instance, on 257, employed by a state law enforcement agency. but I do believe that we could do it in this location.
Madam Chairman?
That's another amendment? Okay.
Friendly.
And then, Senator Sproul, could you move that amendment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could you second that amendment?
Madam Chairman,
Oh,
before we agree to that.
before we agree to that,
that's- it's-
Senator
so
Sproul
it's-
and then Senator McDougal, he still has a question. Let's
It's the law enforcement agencies, so I'm excellent with this applying to DOC.
Yes.
But I want to hear from state police or somebody else about what standards they already have in place or do not, because we're setting up another process
process.
for them. My suspicion is that Senator Morrissey was correct, that maybe the handlers were helping with some of those positives that were false in the DOC, but I want to make sure we're only talking about DOC.
And that, I do only want to apply to DOC. That is the purpose of this bill, so.
So, would you like a spokesperson from the Department of Justice to come up, Senator McDougal?
Madam Chairman, Mr. May was saying, I don't know that a DOC employee is necessarily a law enforcement agency under our
Right.
definition. So, Madam Chairman, I would prefer, and I might be the only one, that has this only applied to employees of Department of Corrections, because I don't want to.
We could say that specifically.
That's what I would like it to say.
Okay, so we never adopted that second amendment, which was prudent on our part. So you're offering,
Madam Chairman, I think it would say, I would say requires, I think that it just needs to be Department of Corrections in places that say other things.
okay, so that is the motion before us, this patron.
Friendly amendment, yes.
Friendly amendment.
Madam Chair.
Okay, so we're going to be narrowing this to Department of Correction employees. That's a motion. Is there a second? Second.
I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with that question.
Senator
Before you make the
Sproul.
motion.
Okay.
What would happen in the local and the region jail if we had the same kind of problems? Now, I haven't been to either one. If you do that, what he suggests, then what happens if we have those same kind of problems in the local and the regional jail? Then what avenue do we have to correct that?
Madam Chair.
Senator Peake.
Senator Sproul, I have not heard any complaints in none of the local jails. I know my local regional jail in Amherst Blue Ridge doesn't have dogs. So if it becomes a problem, we'll bring another bill. Right now, we are well documented on the Department of Corrections, and so I'd like to focus on that.
Madam Chair?
Senator Sproul.
Reason why, because in the regional jail in Portsmouth, that's what it is, John? In Portsmouth, we have all kind of problems. So, I mean, trust me, that is one, Madam Chair, that is one place that we have, you name it, it stays in the press all the time. People dying for other reasons, whatever reason. We have all kind of problems in the regional jail in the city of Portsmouth that comprise of all the regional. So if you just saying to them that the regional jail, if someone get script or some same problem that you brought up, as well as Senator Morrison brought up, if those things happen, then what avenue do we have to say, hey, that you cannot do that? So you were saying to me, according to the Senator motion on the end, you were saying to me that they could do those things because there's nothing to protect them from doing it.
That may be a different bill. Senator Peake.
Madam Chair, Senator Sproul, I'm a senator. I will travel. I will take all that information. I'll get it, and I will bring a bill next year on the locals. But this is, for me, is on the Department of Corrections.
Yes, sir.
Buckingham is in my Senate district, and I want to get this fixed now. We'll take a look at that. But
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Senator Morrissey.
I would tell Senator Sproul that I had already determined that if my bill passed and got out here and passed on the Senate floor, I was going to notify just in writing with a copy of the bill and the letter and the genesis of this, my sheriffs in Richmond, Petersburg, the regional facility, the regional jail in Hopewell, to tell them what has been done. And hopefully they'll take that corrective action. If it becomes apparent that this is a problem that is prevalent and the local jails or the regional jails, then that might be the subject of another
That
bill
might be the
next year.
subject of another bill.
Thank you.
As always, you raise very relevant points, Senator Sproul. Okay, an amendment is before us, as Senator McDougal had moved, and it was seconded about limiting this to employees of Department of Corrections. David May.
Madam Chair, I would just recommend as a part of that amendment that we possibly move this entire section over to Title 53.1. I can either roll it in with the section of the previous bill, or if
I would agree
maybe
with
find
that.
a better place.
Is that acceptable to the patron?
Yes, and I'm not
Okay.
sure why we got it there, so
Yeah,
thank
it's a
you.
little strange. Okay, so now we've got a really healthy amendment before us, and it's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? No, the passes unanimously. Okay, the bill before us has been amended twice.
I apologize.
That's okay. Do you have any speakers? Anybody wishing to speak against it? I think you've got a lot in
I
favor.
just want to point it, we got to get these dogs right.
We'll get this
Oh,
taken
yeah.
care of. I would like a motion.
Move report.
Thank you. The clerk, please open the roll. Oh,
And
and I have to
refer to
refer to
finance.
finance.
Oh, come on.
Motion has been made.
There's no, the dogs are all practiced. Oh, my goodness.
We're adopting and re-referring to finance.
Oh.
Thank you.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for your time.
Madam Chair,
Senator Morrissey.
having voted in the side of the majority in the last bill, can we reopen and vote so that Senator Sproul can cast his
I think
yay
he got
vote?
me. He got me. We good.
He's
Oh, he
been
did?
taken care of.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Peake. Senator Deeds.
I've got two bills on the docket, but I think council has a substitute that rolls the bills together. And I hope they list me as patron and chief co-patron.
And this is.
622,
and
507, and 622.
This makes me very happy. I had been reading these bills. I'm glad we're rolling them together. Okay, so there's a substitute that will be distributed, I hope.
I've got one technical amendment for the substitute once it's adopted, but
Okay. And is 622 being rolled into 507?
507 is being rolled into 622.
Okay, 507 is being rolled into.
So move the substitute to 622. Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
All right, so move the substitute.
Motion has been made. Wait, we're correcting the motion.
And make sure I'm patron and chief co-patron.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So Senator Deeds.
Yes.
I have been advised by our general counsel that it might be more appropriate to strike 507 and deal with the amended 622.
Okay, that's.
May I have a motion to strike
That's fine.
Senate Bill 507? Is there a second? Will the clerk open the roll?
I don't get to be chief co-patron then of 622.
Okay. Thank you.
13 ayes, 2 nays.
Thank you. Senate Bill 507 has been stricken.
And the one change, I like just a technical change. It was on line 622 of the original 622. I changed.
Okay, do you want?
There's one technical change where the word investigation should be changed to review.
And do you know
And that.
the line? This is, are we looking at the
We're-
substitute?
No, I'm thinking about the old
Okay,
bill,
let's-
622.
Maybe first adopt the substitute?
Okay, yes. Have we
Okay.
already done that?
We haven't done that yet.
We haven't done that. I'm sorry.
A motion, please, to adopt
So
the
moved.
amendment substitute 622, and there's a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
Okay.
Substitute is before us.
This is a technical change. It's on 53.1-6, the second paragraph, change the word change the word investigation to review. Please, review. That comes at the request of the Sheriff's Association. What this bill, 622, that technical amendment, what the bill does is JLARC.
Would you,
You mind, Paul? David, can you?
Senator Reeves?
Madam Chair, if we could have council just go through where it is on the substitute.
We want to follow your
understand.
change.
Madam Chair, Senator Reeves, the amendment and the substitute would be on line 612. When and strike investigation, insert review.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay. My apologies. Senator Deeds, you have the
Okay.
floor.
That request comes from the Sheriff's Association. What 622, the intent was to incorporate some JLARC, it's an administration bill to incorporate JLARC recommendations. JLARC took a look at they took a look at jail deaths. And the JLARC report produced a series of recommendations to the process through which jail deaths are investigated, and that's what this bill's about. 507 that was incorporated into that creates an administrative appeal for a regional jail that's subject to an investigation for any remedies that the Board of Corrections, or now it's going to be called the Board of, it's going to be called the State Board of Local and Regional Jails instead of the Board of Corrections. That's going to be doing these reviews. And the 507, which you've incorporated into 622, sets up the internal administrative review. I've got folks here from the Board of Corrections who can walk through the changes if you'd like, the changes in the bill.
Is this an administration bill?
622 is, 507's not, but 622 now includes 507.
Right, and that's the one bill before us.
That's
Thank
right.
you. Would like to hear the administration's comments. Yes. Before we hear from the administration spokesperson, let's adopt the technical amendment that was on line 612, where we changed investigation to review. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The technical amendment is adopted.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Ryan McCord. I'm here on behalf of the Board of Corrections. We support this bill, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I usually have folks that really have questions. Senator Cosgrove, I have you in my list. Did you have a question? Very good. I am very comfortable with the bill, but I don't know if my colleagues, are there any questions, or are we ready to move the bill?
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to report 622 as the substitute and the line amendment. Open the roll, please.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Deeds. Okay, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have sent.
Wait. Forgive me, before, I had not checked my list. Do I have to reconsider the vote and vote again to re-refer to finance? Okay, colleagues, I will move that we reconsider the vote that we took on 622. Second. Thank you. Clerk, open the roll.
Oh, thank you.
This is for reconsideration. Thank you. I would now like a motion to adopt 622 as amended and with the line substitute and to re-refer to finance. Okay, is there a second? Clerk, please open the roll.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Just a sec. Sorry. I can only call one.
That would be Siri.
I think Siri just reconsidered that vote.
I apologize. Senator McClellan.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I have Senate Bill 715, which would provide a $10 stipend for menstruators ages 10 to 55 who are enrolled in TANF, and menstruators who fall outside of the age range could be eligible for the stipend with a physician's note. While it is not something that people consider, period poverty affects women and young girls across Virginia. 1 in 4 menstruators has struggled to purchase enough feminine hygiene products, and without a sufficient supply of products, these women and girls face increased risk of infection and additional barriers to academic and economic success. In fact, 1 in 5 menstruators miss at least a day of school or work each month due to a lack of feminine hygiene products, and that's the reason for the bill. I believe the Poverty Law Center is here to support, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator McClellan. We will hear from your speaker, the Poverty Law Center, Virginia Poverty Law Center. Hi.
Good morning,
Salam.
Madam Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Salam Bhatti. I'm from the Virginia Poverty Law Center. Rapper Eminem waxes eloquently about the perils of poverty in his seminal piece, Lose Yourself. He says, all the pain inside amplified by the fact that I can't get by with my 9 to 5 and I can't provide the right type of life for my family because, man, these food stamps don't buy diapers. And the same parallel exists with TANF and feminine hygiene products. Within TANF, there is equality. So a single mom with 2 daughters who is making the same income as a single dad with 2 sons will get the same TANF benefits, equality. But we know that the single mom with the 2 daughters have a monthly menstruation that requires period products, and their income is set back because of those necessities. And so the men get ahead, the women fall behind, and that right there is inequity.
I move the report, bless your heart.
Madam Chair, let the record
Let me
show
put
the
it back
pages
on
were
it.
digging that testimony.
Okay, colleagues, just before we get too excited, although I appreciate the enthusiasm and the support of our male colleagues, are there any other speakers? Okay, and you, Senator McClellan, you worked with the administration on this.
Well, I do have a budget amendment to the
Okay.
extent that it is necessary, and I have not heard any opposition from the administration.
Okay.
This is not an administration bill.
Very, very good. Senator Boysko.
I would like to offer a friendly amendment to this,
Yes.
to change in every place that it calls feminine hygiene products to menstrual supplies.
I will accept that amendment.
Thank you. I am very appreciative of your efforts, and thank you for carrying this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Boysko. Senator Kiggins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question about the $10 stipend. So will that be allotted? I'm just not familiar about the process, but how will we know that that $10 goes to the feminine products? And is it all lumped together, or is it how does that work?
I will be honest, I am not an expert on how those benefits are distributed, but I can get that answer for you.
Just curious.
We don't specify that. I guess it would be however.
So it's just an extra $10 added to what they're normally getting per month?
I believe that is correct, but I will verify that.
It appears to be $10 targeted specifically to the menstrual supplies.
Yeah, I'm Mark Golden, TANF Program Manager. Yeah, the $10 would just be added to their regular benefit.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank
it'd
you.
be additional and for that purpose.
Madam Chair.
Senator Hanger?
Thank you. And I suspect this will have to be referred to finance,
It will.
but my question, I guess, as we're working this out, I support the concept, but that last question really plays into this. There's no guarantee that this would go for that particular product. It's just $10 more that we add. I was wondering if Senator McClellan, if you could consider, or maybe we could work out a concept where those products are actually delivered by mail to the home for the, bought in bulk and at a more, more economical rate, so that they actually are getting the product rather than the possibility, because we add rates, we increase the TANF rates, and you don't necessarily know that it's going to buy the product intended.
I understand.
Madam Chair?
Senator Boysko.
Madam Chair, I appreciate the thought behind that. However, a one-size-fit-all approach where we would be mailing these products to someone's home, I don't think is the right answer for the needs of a variety of girls and women. Without going into detail, I would ask that you not approve such an amendment.
Just a point, Commissioner Storin is behind you.
Madam Chair?
Well, I guess, but just to amplify Senator Boysko's point, this is also a transient population. You would not know at what point in their period they are, whether they need light, heavy, or medium, whether they use tampons, panty liners, wings or not. So I do think leaving that decision to government officials is probably not a good idea.
Madam Chair?
I would agree. Senator Sproul.
Here we go again. You got men again trying to tell women what to do. Now, on that particular topic, $10, good Lord. I don't think we should tell women what to do with $10. If it was $1,000, yes. It's not but $10. I don't need no guys up there tell me how women should do with their bodies. It ain't but $10 damn dollars, good gracious.
Madam Chair.
Okay, Senator Hanger.
All right. I understand the possible issues there, but the overriding issue for me is making sure the young ladies or the women actually get the product, and we know that there's not always that opportunity. And it's $10, but statewide,
It's a
it looks
principle.
like it's a couple $1 million.
Let me ask Commissioner Storin, who is with us. We thank you for your work, and tell us if there'll be some identifying note or something, at least some acknowledgement as to why the additional money is being provided and what the expectation is.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Duke Storin, Commissioner of Social Services. So as Mark Golden said, we provide a TANF benefit essentially on an EBT card. It's cash for them to spend. However, we have a lot of interaction with the people that we serve, right? We provide them counseling, guidance. We enter into a family plan with them. And so in our issuance of the benefits and our correspondence with them and our counseling, we can certainly underscore the expectation and explain that this differential benefit is going to this purpose. I would just say, looking at the mechanics of trying to specify what people buy in a retail environment is really difficult, right? I mean, we have a whole EBT system under SNAP that costs us millions and millions of dollars, and all that does is restrict it to an approved food retailer. It doesn't even restrict the items that you buy. So it is impractical in today's retail environment to create that level of consumer specificity. The other thing is, you've got to remember the TANF benefit, although it has been raised, thank you to this body, 5% last year, there's a proposal for 5% this year. We are still talking about a benefit that is 33% of the federal poverty level. So having $10 extra to be able to purchase the products that a family needs, I think is money well spent. And it is we do, as introduced, it is a very real equity issue. And so I just wanted to sort of offer our ability to.
We appreciate your comment. There is a amendment before us which we didn't adopt, and that is to change to menstrual supplies. I think the feminine hygiene product would be changed to menstrual supplies. All those in favor of that amendment, move that amendment. Amendment was moved by Senator Boysko, seconded by Senator Spruill. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. There's nobody opposed. The amendment is adopted unanimously. Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would tell the patron that I think it's very significant and serious legislation. I'm a little bit on the fence, and I think I could be pushed over to support the bill if the gentleman from the Southern Poverty Law Center could actually sing those rap lyrics instead of just uttering them. So,
I got to know my audience.
The last comment the chair will. The last comment the chair will make is TANF is a federal program, and so we need to know that these would be federal dollars, not general fund dollars. And I don't think there'd be an increase in any state administrative cost associated with this.
Madam Chair, move the report as amended.
And the motion has been made to adopt, to pass the bill and re-refer to finance by Senator Spruill. All those in, second by Senator Mason. The clerk, please open the roll.
$15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I can ask Senator Mason to go to give Senator Hanger and Senator Boysko more time to work out their. Okay, you're there. Okay, then colleagues, I think I'll ask you to hold off, and I will call Senator Eben.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This is SB 837 to do with private prisons in Virginia. Currently, we have one private prison operating in Virginia, the Lawrenceville Correctional Facility, medium security in Brunswick County, which has 1,555 male inmates. It's been open for about 21 years, if my math is right, and there's an opt-out in the contract for 2023, which is why this bill has an effective date of 2023. I would maintain that for-profit prisons are incompatible with the goals of prison systems. We're incarcerating the people. We have responsibility for those inmates and to do it right. However, we are private prisons, by contrast, have a motive to make money, lowering their operating costs, hire fewer employees, and pay and train them less than state-operated prisons. And this particular firm, and I should say, this bill was not motivated by one firm, but I looked into the firm that does operate our private prison, or our prison in Lawrenceville. They're in a precarious financial position. And what do we do if they should, for some reason, go out of business with our inmates? The group that operates in Virginia, I believe they're operating in good faith here in Virginia, but nationally, they're a publicly traded company. Their stock is down 44%. Last year, dropped 33%. And national banks are no longer offering credit, including Wells Fargo and JP Morgan, to this company. Pension funds are divesting from it, I believe because of their reliance on business from ICE. But it's really a policy question. Should we be in the business of outsourcing one of our key functions? And we don't do this for other prisons. We only do it for the one. I would also maintain that if we were to end the reliance on private contractors, that we would be able to employ some of those same employees, if not most or all of them, in a publicly run facility. I visited a number of Virginia prisons, about 4 of them, and I'm sorry I couldn't take the GEO group up on their invitation to visit their facility yet. But when you go and see those prisons, as some of you have, you know you're putting people in the state's hands. And it's kind of, outsourcing this is not a function I believe we should engage in. It's really a policy question for the committee. But with that, I'm able to take your questions.
Thank you, Senator Eben. Do you have an administration spokesperson here from the Department of Corrections, or?
I don't think they like it, but I think there's
I
someone
would like to hear from the Department of
Yes.
Corrections before we take other speakers.
Good morning
Yes.
again, Madam Speaker.
Good morning.
We really don't have a position in terms of this bill. I will say that we have approximately 1,550 offenders at Lawrenceville Correctional Center now. If we are to take over, the Department of Corrections is to take over the running of this facility, there will be a fiscal impact. I think it was described by the patron in terms of how the prison is ran and in terms of the money that it costs to run the prison now. It would present a fiscal impact to the agency.
Okay. There's a enactment clause that has you developing and implementing a plan to ensure compliance by July 1, 2023. Now, that's not tomorrow, but it's probably, in terms of bureaucratic time, not a long time either. Have there been issues with the private management of our facilities?
I would just say, Madam Chairman, that the issues that we experience in Lawrenceville are similar to the issues that we experience in any of our other correctional facilities. Lawrenceville does abide by the Department of Corrections operating procedures, so it's not as if they are a facility that's operating on an island and developing their own operating procedures. They fall under the same chain of command as the other facilities. They have a regional administrator that is in the direct line of supervision to the warden, who has a regional operations chief, who then reports to ultimately the director of the Department of Corrections.
Madam Chair?
I've got a few questions, so, from my colleagues. Senator Boysko and then Senator Sproul. Senator Boysko.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. Question for the speaker. So I don't know the answer to this, but I would assume that the Commonwealth pays these privately owned facilities something to cover their costs. What do you think would be the difference in the price were the Commonwealth to take it over?
I would have to find the specific amount, and I can get that amount for you all if that is something that you all would like for me to do. I can certainly do that. I could do that for you. Yes, ma'am.
Senator Sproul.
So, the problem that they have a launch bill is no more the same that we have as our institution. So have you all gotten any major complaints about launch bill versus any other place?
In my time in the Department of Corrections, and that's, I guess, really in this position in the last, I guess, almost 8 months now, they've been similar. I mean, things, from family members, I mean, it's been the similar issues. And not, to be honest with you, Lawrenceville is not one that we hear a whole lot of things from.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Madam Chair?
Senator Morsi.
I'm sorry, what is your last name, sir?
Fitz, F-I-T-Z.
All right, Mr. Fitz, let me ask this question. Is this considered a for-profit prison?
In listening to the definition that the patron gave, I would say I would have to say yes.
Because I would say the other day, it was either in this committee or courts, when I mentioned a for-profit prison in Virginia, the Secretary, Moran, expressed surprise that we had that. But that's exactly what this is, isn't it? You give contracts, or you let contracts to individuals who come in and provide services including food, medical, phone, et cetera. Am I right?
Well, the only thing I would say to that is that there is a contract with the Geo Corporation to run the prison.
Senator Eben.
I just want to be clear that the bill has nothing to do with the department's ability to enter into private contracts for food service, medical care, transportation, sanitation, IT, education, training, recreational, religious services, financing, construction, or maintenance. This is about overall the people who guard the liberty of the folks who we've incarcerated, and perhaps the other services that were not just enumerated by me. I don't know if those...
One final question, Madam Chair.
Senator Morsi.
One of the concerns that I have are those prisoners that are there and they are charged exorbitant amounts to make phone calls.
Yeah.
They are charged in canteens $2 and $3 to buy an Advil or a Tylenol. Really bothers me that people that are in prison and need certain basic services end up being charged premiums. And Adam, I was so much in favor. I liked this bill when I saw it, and I'm disappointed that it doesn't include those products that I feel inmates are gouged on.
Mr. Fisk.
Madam Chair, I would just say that in all of our facilities, we have companies that we're contracting with to handle things like commissary, phone service, and things of that nature. So Lawrenceville is not, again, on an island when it comes to handling things such as commissary, phone service, and those types of things.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Fitz.
Thank you. Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd ask the patron if there is only this one facility that would be impacted by this bill, and by way of that, I understand there is at least one halfway house that maybe the department contracts with, maybe more. I don't know, but I just want to be sure we know what we're talking about here.
That was the intent of the bill. Maybe council can, I have the code sections where we're repealing. I just want to verify that because it's an important question. Am I correct in stating that it's just this one facility, not halfway houses?
Madam Chair, I
Mr. May.
am unaware of any other private facilities, but I would definitely defer to DOC as far as whether they have any contracts for any other sort of correctional facility.
And I would assure the gentleman that if it was found to deal with others, this bill doesn't take effect till 2023, but I think it's important we make a policy statement now that we want to get out of that business. I'm not aware of halfway houses that engage in that, though, personally.
There's a speaker behind you, Senator Eben. Oh, Senator Chafin.
Further question. Senator Eben, I understand that there is a halfway house operated by a company called Socal that is out in Southwest Virginia that perhaps DOC uses. I know the federal government uses it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a nonprofit they help subsidize or what.
I know exactly how it's organized. It's a for-profit corporation.
Yes, Mr. Fisk.
So the only to Madam Chairman and Senator, the only answer I would have for that is that Lawrenceville is the only privately run prison in the state of Virginia. We do have community residential programs where we contract bed space, where we send offenders and the department pays for bed space. And Secor Lebanon is one of those contracted, but that's not a privately run prison. That's a community residential program.
Madam Chair.
No, it doesn't apply. Senator Chafin.
Third question then. Is this bill broad enough to sweep in these other alternative correction facilities that we have? Because they're an important part, I believe, of introducing inmates back to their homes.
I would just say under the sections we're repealing, 53.1-263 deals with prison contractors, 53.1-264 deals with prison guards, correctional officers, or inmates, or jail officers. Section 53.1-266 deals with prison facilities. So unless halfway houses are designated that way, my quick reread of the bill would indicate it wouldn't apply to them. But I would trust counsel
I think I would
more.
like general counsel to answer that. Mr. May. In the meanwhile, we'll hear from the speaker behind you, Tyler Bishop.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tyler Bishop on behalf of the GEO Group. We do, in fact, operate the Lawrenceville Correctional Center for the state. It's a medium security facility. GEO Group has done so since March of 2003. Contract was recently renewed with 5 years guaranteed through July 1st of 2023, and then renewables after that. We believe that we have had a very positive and productive relationship with the state and are in good standing with DOC. There have not been major issues that would make you think that we're not able to continue doing the work there. A little bit about GEO Group because it's been brought up in what we do around the country, but I just want, for the record, I'll say we do not manage any shelters or facilities housing unaccompanied minors. We do not manage any Border Patrol holding facilities along the U.S. Southwest border. And I know those are some of the national narratives that are bringing these issues up to some constituent groups. So just want to make it clear we do not do that. Also, by the way, we do not strip search minors at Lawrenceville Correctional Center. There are, as far as contracted facilities go, we believe that we have significant levels of accountability and transparency. Unlike government-run facilities, contract facilities provide greater accountability because they are governed by detailed contracts and typically have on-site, full-time contract monitors employed by the government. Additionally, the contracted facilities are reviewed and audited by government agencies, both on a routine and unannounced basis, as well as by third-party accreditation entities like the American Correctional Association and the National Commission on Correctional Health Care.
I think we may have a question for you.
Yes.
Senator McPike.
Madam Chair, and I'm sorry, it's probably to the Department of Corrections. So if the gentleman
okay,
would like
would
to
you-
finish.
Would you like to finish, Mr. Bishop, and then we'll direct?
I would just say that this, goes back to if it ain't broke, why are we trying to fix it? This would be a sweeping policy change that I would ask you to take very seriously before making a decision. And if you have not had the chance to visit the Lawrenceville facility, we invite you to do so. We've talked to Senator Eben about that, and he's agreed to come down too. So we're open and transparent and would like anyone to visit that would like to make that happen.
I think, Mr. Fisk, would you mind coming to the podium? Okay. Senator McPike?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Mr. Fisk, as a part of this, have you done any study of cost assessment? Looking through the fiscal impact, there's a $30 million sort of transfer startup costs to take it over, plus $18.5 million of operating costs on top of it. The per diem of $48 per day versus the state average of $72 per day is a pretty wide delta. Have you assessed the cost of what the standard of staffing and other elements are in comparison to what's currently? I'm overall in favor of the policy concept that if we incarcerate, it should be done by the public entity. However, there is a pretty large delta in terms of cost, and I'm wondering if you've had current studies, previous studies in terms of the cost difference that's involved in this.
So, Madam Chair, Senator, so the numbers that you referenced, we did take a look at things such as security staff, what we're paying security staff at a typical DOC-run facility, programming, all those things kind of go into that per diem that was used for the Department of Corrections numbers. In terms of a current study, I would just say we reviewed how much it costs for us to run a similar medium security level 3 facility that's compatible to Lawrenceville.
I just have a quick question here, which I think is sort of what people are thinking about. I mean, in terms of any requirements the General Assembly or the Board of Corrections may place on the Department of Corrections, such as, limiting the price of hygiene products or ensuring prisoners earn a minimum wage, whatever those things might be. It is my understanding that state contracted prisons, this one in particular, would have to follow those rules as well. If in fact you're housing state prisoners, if in fact a private institution's housing state prisoners. I mean, we're trying to figure out if there's some discernible difference in the quality of the service being provided, which is why Senator Eben is asking that the state run it versus a private entity. I'm trying to figure out what problem we're trying to solve and if it relates to the quality of the service. Otherwise, I think this is a really expensive and maybe,
Well, I would just say this. I would just say this, Madam Chairman. If, in fact, we, Department of Corrections, were to take over the operations of Lawrenceville, a couple things could happen. If, in fact, the facility is shut down, then there'd be a need for us to move those 1,550 offenders to other facilities throughout the state. If we do take over the facility, there are a number of programs of the Department of Corrections, and I'm certainly not implying that the programs that are being ran in Lawrenceville now are not similar to those, but there are programs that we run in the Department of Corrections that we would certainly run at Lawrenceville that would cost. There may be a cost associated with those that are higher than what's associated with the cost to run those programs currently at Lawrenceville. So I think those are the numbers that are reflected in that fiscal impact statement.
thank you. I think we have a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm just not comfortable making this kind of policy decision without more information. And with all due respect to the patron, this is a big policy decision, and there's a lot of implication moving parts to the Department of Corrections. So I would make the motion to PBI, but also with the caveat that a letter from you to the Department of Corrections asking for a thorough analysis of what this would actually mean to them dollar-wise in growth and everything else. So that would be my motion to PBI with letter.
Motion has been made, and there's a second. Okay.
Madam Chair, very briefly.
Senator Eben.
I understand the reluctance of the committee to engage in a policy change that may be costly. I would just point out, I have a budget amendment in. If this doesn't take place this cycle, and I would encourage you all to consider doing the bill with a reenactment clause, so it would have no effect immediately, but it would tell the Department of Corrections that we'd like to figure out how to do this in a pretty serious way. There's no reason to do this. And I would encourage you also to visit Coffeewood Correctional Facility. I'll lead a field trip. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this facility, but I've been to one medium security. I think that would be a good way if people want to get judgment. Senator Reeves, maybe we can go to both.
I appreciate your interest in trying to keep this bill alive, and the concept is very good, and I promise you the committee will not abandon the concept. I do believe it needs further investigation, and I believe David May has a comment on your request for an enactment clause.
Madam Chair, so these provisions would apply to a prison facility or prison facility, which is a defined term in the bill you'll find starting on line 241. It defines it as any institution operated by or under the authority of the department or by a private contractor, in this case, through the department, which shall include, whether obtained by purchase, lease, etc., any physical betterment or improvement related to the housing of inmates. So as long as folks in the said halfway houses would be considered an inmate, it would include any physical betterment.
It could have an impact.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Morrissey?
Adam, if this matter, there's a motion to pass it by indefinitely, do you think there's a possibility if it was passed by for a week, and assuming that we still, Madam Chair, had time to take this up on the docket, that you could fix some of the flaws that folks have brought to your attention?
I'd be happy to work on what Senator Chafin had suggested. Yeah, I don't think we'll have a fundamental agreement with the corporation, but with members of the committee, I believe I could improve the bill a bit.
Senator Chafin would like to comment as well on that, and I think he's got some halfway houses in his home district. Senator Chafin.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So my district is rural. We have, I believe we probably have more Department of Correction facilities than any other district in the state. I like to visit them, and I have a great high regard for the men and women that make up the complement of the Department of Corrections. They perform a very stressful, difficult, and necessary job. And oftentimes in a thankless environment. Having said that, they also do a pretty good job policing their own organization. They have the professionals that are there who understand the issues that they must deal with. And we have other facilities that this bill would impact, and I just, I understand what the patron is trying to get at, but we need a very thorough analysis of this before we go down a road that has been serving us well in the Commonwealth. And we just haven't, as a body politic, we haven't heard complaints. We just haven't heard the complaints about this, that we would need to hear. In my experience, as a country lawyer, let me tell you what, the squeaky wheels get the grease, and you hear about the problems. You sure hear about the problems, and if there were problems with this, I believe I would have been hearing them, and I believe many other senators would be hearing them.
Thank you, Senator Chafin. Senator Eben, there is a motion before the body. Again, I think there's interest in solving a problem if we can identify what that problem is. Unfortunately, that didn't quite come out in this conversation.
Sorry for not articulating it, but
but the motion does include me writing a letter to the Department of Corrections asking for an evaluation of this issue. So the motion's before us. Mr. Reeves, Senator Reeves, do you want to, did I capture it correctly?
Madam Chair, I would renew my motion. The PBI would like to.
Okay, and there's a second. Will the clerk please open the roll?
11 ayes, 4 nays.
Thank the members of the committee.
Thank you, Senator Eben. Okay, we have Senator Hanger's bill and Senator Boysko's bill, which I think are very similar. I would ask you to go through it very quickly for me because the chair has to go to a Rules Committee meeting at 10. But it seemed, this is not the first time we've heard these bills either. Is one going to be rolled into the other?
I think, Madam Chair, what it is, we aren't in disagreement. It's just a matter of technical amendments that have been recommended to us. And there actually is a substitute that was prepared by Legislative Services. David, do you have that Sarah directed this morning?
The substitute was
But
prepared
it's drawn to 748, but it also applies and could be overlaid on Senator Boysko's bill. The background on this, Senator Boysko had a bill last year that created a study on this particular issue, so she's invested in this issue. My reason for being here, it was also a work product of the Mental Health Commission, and so I'm carrying it for the Mental Health Commission, and Delegate Watts is carrying it on the other side of the Mental Health Commission.
I appreciate that.
So the changes are basically to allow it to comport with HIPAA regulations and some of the concerns that were expressed through stakeholders. So that's all it is. We're in agreement.
Right. And I think our language might be identical at this point. I have a new substitute. It's still different. Okay.
I'm going to ask, though, that if it's okay with Senator Hanger, it's my practice, and I try to be nonpartisan about this, to roll the higher bill into the lower bill.
That's fine.
Is that fine?
That's fine, or if you can just put me over as
chief
patron,
Yeah.
chief patron on that one.
That would be the motion.
Both equal.
Okay.
But what I'm suggesting to you is the language in the substitute that I had delivered here this morning is what has been agreed, it comports with HIPAA and
So
all of
we
that.
will first
Yep.
adopt your substitute.
Okay.
Okay, and then, but if we adopt the substitute to 748.
No, put that language that I'm giving you on her bill.
Well, let me talk to the clerk about that, okay?
Okay,
Because I've got
okay.
this technicality here.
So,
Okay, let me
my
ask
understanding is-
David May, the substitute before us is to 748. Could we also make it to 656 at the request of the patron?
Madam Chair, so we can, if the goal is to incorporate that into Senate Bill 656, what we can do is adopt that version of the substitute for 656, and I can go back and change it after.
Okay, do I need a motion to roll them together at this point? I believe I do, and I believe it's a roll call vote. Is that correct? Okay, so I would like a motion to roll Senate Bill 748 into Senate Bill 656. And there's a second. Okay, will the clerk please open the roll?
Oh, can you
Okay,
vote for me too?
thank you, colleagues.
Mine was on here, okay.
And part of that motion was to make each patron a chief co-patron.
Beg your pardon?
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Each patron will be a chief co-patron. That was part of
Chief
the
patrons,
motion.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the terminology, whatever.
Whatever, so
We're
that we
chief-
get equal
we're both-
billing.
We're both chief patrons.
We love you both, and we'll ensure
There you go.
each of you
That's
is
good.
recognized for your efforts. Okay, so is the substitute, although it says 748, it's a substitute to 656. Will one of you walk us through that?
Sure. So, as you discussed, I asked for a study last year dealing with Community Services Board sharing information with local jails. Currently, in the code, they are disclosure to a facility. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Disclosure to facility. We know that the jailers need access to inmates' prior treatment records. However, the Virginia Code has been silent on the provider's need to provide that treatment information to the jails. And we know that some providers, legal counsels, have been advised to provide the information. Others have been advised not to do so, absent an affirmative obligation to provide that information. And so this bill, at the request of people from the mental health facilities as well as the jails, codifies that, gives them that authority to provide that information from the local provider to the jails. I have with me the sheriff of Fairfax County and also the director of correctional health and human services from Fairfax County here, who are happy to show their support.
If they're all in favor, we'd be delighted if they just came forward and said they supported the bill.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of this committee. We are in full support of this bill. It would be very helpful if it is passed. Thank you.
And thank you for your work in our community.
Thank you.
Well, Bruce Cruiser with Mental Health America, Virginia. We certainly support the concept of continuity of care, and I think this is what this is about. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Madam Chairman and members of
Jones.
the committee, I'm John Jones with the Sheriff's Association, and we fully support this.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mike Edwards, Kemper Consulting on behalf of the Association of Regional Jails, and we support the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Would you like to make a motion, Senator Reeves?
I would, but I'd make one comment before I make my motion.
Yep.
Too often, as a law enforcement officer, I saw folks that were getting locked up for nothing more than having mental health issues. This is needed legislation, and I want to just thank the two chief co-patrons for bringing it. And with that, I'd make the motion that we pass the substitute as amended.
Okay, the motion has been made to adopt the substitute as amended. There's a fiscal impact, I believe. And let me ask. Yep, okay, there's 1 second. I could be wrong.
This, actually, I don't think requires a budget amendment.
No, I'm incorrect. No,
Hers represents
Just regular.
And hers says that it has to be upon the request of the local regional jail that they send information. Yours doesn't have that.
No, this is, they must provide.
Right.
Yeah, so this word was ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just working off of this language right now. That's what we're about.
Yeah. If there's anything.
Do we have everything worked out, or?
Yep.
do-
Yeah, we're good. We're
Very
good.
good.
Send it to the
Okay.
floor. Yeah.
Motion is to report the substitute for Senate Bill 656, and as you know, Senator Hanger, you will be listed as a chief co-patron. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Ayes, 0 nays.
Excellent, excellent work. Thank you. It's much needed. All right, the last presentation is our own Senator Mason.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, 5 minutes.
Chairman, Senate Bill 675. So, Madam Chair, this is one of those bills that I generally, not the substance, but just if you look at it, it doesn't say what we're doing. But thanks to the unbelievable competence of Mr. May, I feel that it is going to do so. And what the idea here is this just eliminates the sunset or the contingency clause on fingerprints for non-licensed and for child care providers. So we just want to make sure this committee has had many conversations and discussions about what we believe the need for importance of having background checks for our child care and daycare workers. This eliminates the sunset, and although it's hard to glean it from reading the bill, that's what it does, and I'd ask the committee support.
I think it's a great bill, and I'd like a motion to report this bill.
Second.
Second, okay. Will the clerk please open the roll?
I still got some.
And we will, do you want me to vote for you? Okay. The bill reports. Chad, is there a question? Okay, the bill is reported. Okay, there's no other business to come before the committee this morning, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Committee shall rise.